All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. I got the mic back. I got the new phone too. I don't really know what's making it work this time as opposed to last time. I just kind of plugged it in and it worked instead of not working. So we got a mic and a better camera. Yay. Let the Twisted Minds logo up here from last week. Large part of that is because there are a couple corrections I have to make from last week. I put it out a little bit quickly, didn't check the Reddit the fastest, and so there's a bit of news I was not aware of. This one I touched on in the video. It wasn't on the whiteboard, but figured I'd still throw it up here. Atomic is set to join Twisted Minds. Last week I was saying that Twisted Minds are looking for one. They had Rise and Nwpo, and then the next thing was that Atomic is looking for a team. And I was sitting there recording the video like, wait a second. That makes a lot of sense. And guess what? They think so too. So Atomic headed to the Middle Eastern region, joining Rise and Nwpo on Twisted Minds. I think this is a pretty comfortable MENA 2. Their biggest challenger will probably be the Dr. Known, Nush, and Tox option. But that's that for Twisted Minds. Second one is Wildcard. They're not signing Amphis, Superlachie, and Kaka from the sounds of it. I missed the fact that this report was deleted pretty quickly after it came out. But according to Achilleas on the Shift Discord, it does look like they might still sign a different team. So probably will be on the scene, just might not be this squad itself. Curious to see how the orgs work out in OCE, because I think those top three should be getting orgs, especially if orgs do believe in them to make lands. I think those top three are definitely like going to end up making it. Maybe not all three of them, but definitely two of them. And you want to get them signed before they reach an international stage. So G2, G2's been a little bit interesting this offseason. They originally dropped their roster. We're looking into a European roster. We're in the running for the Itachi, Oski, and Nas trio, but didn't end up getting them. Sounded like partners fell through, which allowed Ninjas of Pajamas to basically take over negotiations from there. Since they've inquired about a couple of other teams, but no current leads on if G2 is going to be in the scene or not. So, big TBD. It doesn't look like they're pursuing anyone at the moment. So, yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. I wanted to see them at least somewhere in the scene, even if they didn't have a top title contending roster. It'd be good to see them, pick up a team. I think BDS might be in a similar boat. They might be a little bit further along in discussions and might have someone lined up, but similar case with them. I'd love to see them, even if they're picking up like a team that's barely making top 8s. It's like, it's still legacy org in the RLCS, and you can still come back and build something. I'll get to a team that did that in a bit. Pioneers. This one wasn't reported on. It was reported on a while ago that it sounded like the Pioneers were going to get JKnaps, Aris, and Aqua. I thought this was a very, very solid squad for them to pick up. Made some sense, but ends up Pioneers probably pulled out of the deal last minute, and so this isn't falling through. We haven't seen any kind of announcement from any of the players or Achilleas that this has happened, aside from the fact that Achilleas has linked his reports and their success rate on his Twitter account. He's done this going back since 2020, and so you can go back and like check any shift report that's happened since then and like whether or not it ended up being true or not. But when I was scrolling through that, I realized that this one of the Pioneers getting JKnaps, Aris, Aqua ends up not being true, and it's because it sounds like Pioneers have pulled out of the deal. So I'm not sure if Pioneers are still going to get a team in North America. Not really sure what beyond that, but doesn't sound like it's going to be JAA at the moment. Then I got some region logos here. A couple things to break down. This is news from Greybeard. I'm not sure how true it is based on the second bit of news I have coming out of SSA, but we'll roll with it for now. There's currently 4 full EU teams expected to be in the Sub-Saharan Africa region next year. This isn't like playing from Europe. This isn't... At least he didn't phrase it like it was playing from Europe. It sounds like they're going to SSA. It sounds like as of now, 3 of the 4 have some org funding and org backing. And of course, all of them believe they're going to go get that free spot. So yeah, if there's 4 of them competing for one spot, I hate to break it to you guys, it's not free. It's not free. Especially because I do think Limitless could be good, depending on what these teams are. I don't know what these teams are, but depending on what they are, I do believe they could be good enough to at least throw their name in the hat. So that's 5 teams. But kind of wild that this is the scenario that we're in. I think we desperately need a 2/3 rule, and this is the season where it's gotten completely out of hand. Starting to get out of hand last season with examples like Mobula, a little bit in APAC as well when you had Tho come over. So we've reached the point of the esport where we want to have worldwide representation so every single region can qualify for international competition. But at the same time, not every team qualifying from each region is actually from that region. And so instead of it being, you can go one of two ways with this. You can say we only want the best competition and just choose the best teams, or we want the most representation. If you want the most representation, you have to protect the representation. Otherwise, you're going to have, people who don't want to compete in Europe just saying, all right, I'll just go get the spot from SSA and take it from there. But if you want the best competition, then you just say, okay, Europe gets 7 spots. MENA gets 1 spot. NA gets 2 spots. Probably more than 2 spots. I'm being a little dramatic. But point is, it's like you just make all the spots fluctuating. If you're not going to do that and you want to have the representation, then you got to have some rule to make sure that representation is actually legit. Because instead of it being a worldwide esport, we're just getting EU's top 4 seeds and then like EU's 23rd seed and EU's 33rd seed. So rant over about that. Last bit of news out of SSA, which isn't actually news out of SSA, but I didn't really have room to draw it. Nwpo is in Brazil. And I was a little surprised when he announced this, especially considering that we had some news earlier in the offseason that Nwpo was going to be teaming with Lunar and Forky in SSA. Sounds like this has fallen through because Nwpo has put out on Twitter that he is looking for a team in Brazil. Personally, I would trust the Nwpo source more than the first source that I got for the Lunar Forky Nwpo. I believe it was probably true at the time, but considering since then there's been an update from Nwpo himself, I'm going to assume that SSA team has fallen through. Moving on to North America, got 2 teams confirming themselves this week. Well, okay, 1 team confirmed by Achilleas, 1 team confirmed by themselves. Com, Talk, and Evo are teaming up for the next season. There was like an ATR 2v2 crew battles where they made top 4. I believe they had a solid run in that. They ended up taking down the beast mode Atomic Daniel. Don't put too much talk. Don't put too much stock into off-season 2v2 mix-up tournaments is all I'll say. And I'm trying to remind myself of that considering how the tournament went. But they look to be teaming for 2025. I think this is a very solid squad. It looked for a bit like these guys were going to get split apart based on the duos that had formed, but considering none of the duos really actually ended up sticking, they end up teaming. Com and Talk have been trying out since like the start of the offseason. Looked like they might team with 5UP for a bit, but it sounds like they landed on Evo, and that's who they're running with for next season. And then speaking of 5UP, he'll be joining Creams and Hockey on what used to be TSM. They're not going to be TSM. They've already been dropped by TSM. But Creams and Hockey are from that TSM squad of last year. 5UP is joining them. I think, on paper, this is probably a downgrade from Wavy. A lot of people respect Wavy a lot and what his potential is, but I think a large part of that is because 5UP is genuinely slept on as well. I think more important for a team like 5UP Creams Hockey versus Wavy Creams Hockey is how the team is going to end up gelling. And at least from what we saw in the season, the TSM/Hebro squad was really good in off-season tournaments, but then couldn't get it together for RLCS. If this team has the opposite effect, they're going to be regarded as better. Doesn't necessarily mean that 5UP is a better player than Wavy. Doesn't necessarily mean that Wavy is a better player than 5UP. But curious to see if this change in roster ends up moving the needle. Because sometimes you can pick up a worse player and get infinitely better results. And the last bit of news, which is definitely the biggest news of... I don't want to say definitely the biggest news of the offseason. Monkey Moon got signed to Vitality. Biggest news of North America's offseason. NRG has officially handed over the keys. Garrett G passed them off to Daniel, Beast Mode, and Atomik. They also got Sathu. It's not the clearest in their announcement video if you don't watch until the last 2 seconds. But yes, Sathu is still the coach. And that's that. So I was talking earlier about how I'd love for BDS and G2 to stay in the scene, even if they're like not picking up a championship contending team. You can build yourself back to that. NRG was definitely the squad I was referring to as a team that didn't have a championship winning squad, then I don't want to say they built their way back to that, because they definitely just bought out the best roster. But at the end of the day, they stayed in. They still had a fan base for that, and now they're going to have a bigger fan base because they picked up the best squad in North America. That being said, I also understand me saying that I'm not running the finances for these orgs, and considering the state of the league right now, I am in no position to be criticizing or, giving them heat for making financially sound decisions. So, with all that being said, I think this is the last time that I'm going to do this whiteboard on the usual Sunday window. I'm hoping to do one on January 2nd. I believe this is when I have it scheduled, which is the day before the European RLCS season starts. When I say that, it's just the double elimination phase, so probably not massive games on Friday, but figured I'd get that out. I think in that video, I'll just basically break down what all the big rosters are going to be for all the regions, because I think that'll be more fun. And so, yeah, this is probably the last time you'll see the whiteboard like this. Hope you guys have enjoyed this series. I really appreciate all the support. I didn't expect this to go as well as it ended up going, but it's been a lot of fun to keep this up. I've got plenty of ideas to go throughout the series. So, but this concept isn't going to disappear forever. This is definitely, I like doing this for off seasons. I think it's a great way to break everything down. So I'll be back with this exact concept for sure during the transfer window. And that's that. Thanks for watching.